Hey guys, and welcome back to the Stitch Sessions, and welcome back to our final installment in our Home Sweet Home series. You're probably thinking, what the heck is this? This is a half mitt pot holder. So you've seen oven mitts before, and I've seen these like half mitt. They usually sit like this, and you can just kind of slide your hands and your fingers in that way, and it folds over. And I thought, this might be a great idea for kind of like a half mitt idea. And I double lined mine. So on the inside, let me see if I can pull this out. Yeah, so see, I actually created a second set that I inserted inside. So that way it's really gonna protect my hand from the heat. So this is a quick little project. I mean, it might take you a little while, but you can definitely whip this up in time for the holidays. And it would make a great addition to any hostess gift, like if you're putting together a little basket or a housewarming gift. I think these are going to come in really, really handy. I do use 100% cotton, and I know there's a bunch of blends out there, and I talk a little bit about it in the materials section of this video, but I always advocate for 100% cotton, especially when you're creating items that are coming in contact with high heat. So it's actually quite simple. We start with a little circle here on the bottom, and we increase for a couple of rounds, and then there's no more increases. We just create our height, and you make 2 of these. You crochet them down the center, and then you crochet the ring around. Now, as I said, I made a lining for mine, so I ended up crocheting 4 of these little kind of tube-like things. And then I placed the lining inside, and then I finished off with a little edge here, just so that I could cover the heel of my hand here. And there you have a nice, easy half mitt pot holder. I don't know about you guys, but most of the time when I'm grabbing things, I'm just grabbing it with the one hand. So this comes in handy, and it's really quick and easy. And I know sometimes people go, why don't you just make a mitten, like a traditional mitten? But I just wanted something that was going to be nice and universal. So this will fit, I would say, most any hand, unless you have like a man who's got a gigantic hand. But really, it should fit any hand. It's not fitted. And you can fit it in this way, or you can fit it in that way. So it's really, really universal. And I thought, especially as the holidays are coming up, this would make a nice gift for anyone. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. It's the same kind of pattern that you would make for anyone. So I hope you guys like this. This is the grand finale in our Home Sweet Home series. And if you've missed any of our previous projects, of course, there's always a playlist down below with all the projects. And of course, later on at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about looking into the future for our next crochet series and rounding out the year with this current series. But in the meantime, you guys are here to check out how to make this half mitt. So let's talk about the materials and let's get to it. Okay, so let's talk about the materials, and I'm going to start off with the yarn because I am very sorry that I did not buy 2 balls of this yarn. This is the Crafter's Secret Cotton, and I bought this on a spring trip to Buffalo with a friend of mine. And I bought a whole bunch of yarn that at the time I thought would be perfect for Christmas. And I just saw this lovely kind of white and red, like a candy stripe twist. And I knew I wanted to do something for Christmas with it. I just didn't know what at the time. So I just picked up 1 ball, silly me. And I haven't started creating my mitts yet, but I just have a funny feeling that 1 ball is not going to be enough if you want to create 2. If you're just looking to create 1 little pot holder mitt, then you might get away with this. So this comes in a 71 gram ball, which is 2.5 ounces, and it contains 120 yards or 109 meters. So I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to have enough. So Because I'm going to make mine double lined, I'm going to use this for the outside layer. And then I'm also going to use some of this Lion Brand 24/7 cotton for the inside layer. And I just happen to have this lying around. So I'm trying to use up as much of what I've got already. I highly, highly recommend whatever you choose, whatever color, whatever brand companies you use, make sure, I recommend 100% cotton. Now, sometimes you can find like an cotton blend, like 80-20, but I always like to go for absolutely 100% cotton anytime I'm creating an item that's going to come in contact with a lot of heat or high heat. So I think the more you can protect your item, the better. And of course, the more you can protect your hands, the better as well. So that is my recommendation. So these are the two balls that I have. Now, for the hook size, I have two hook sizes here. Now, I'm going to use the 4.5 millimeter hook. And if you go by other labels, it's also known as a G or a size 7. And just because I want to keep my stitches a little bit tighter, I'm already going to be using the linked double crochet stitch, so that will help a lot. But I just think that kind of having a slightly smaller hook will keep that in check as well. Now I have the 5 millimeter hook, again, also known as an H or a size 8. And I have this, so these two yarns are both considered a medium 4-weight yarn. But when you take a look at this, these to me don't look like they're in the same weight class. Like they're obviously there is a range, but this one is much thinner. Like I would almost call this a lightweight number 3. And even this one is on the slightly thinner side of a medium 4. But for me, there's definitely a discrepancy in the weight between these two. So when I'm working on my outer layer, I'm most likely going to use a 5 millimeter hook. And in fact, that is the recommended hook size. So I'm going to be using a 5 millimeter hook. And when I go in for the inner layer, I am going to go down to a 4.5 millimeter hook. And it's just because it's a thinner feeling yarn. And I just want to make sure, again, that the stitches sit nice and closely together. So that is the yarn. These are the hooks. The other two things you're going to want to make sure you have are a good pair of scissors and, of course, a yarn needle to weave in your ends at the end. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with my outer layer. So I'm going to use this candy stripe twist yarn here. So I'm going to put this aside. But I am going to show you guys, I did already start working on the inner layer with some of this Lion Brand 24/7 cotton. I just wanted you to see what the effect was like. So I started in the center and worked my way up. So I'm not quite there yet, but again, I was just kind of feeling out to make sure that the width was good enough. This is designed so that it should kind of fit any hand. I don't need it to be super snug. So I'm kind of pretty happy with that. It's good that it's wide and that way it's pretty universal. Now, the only thing about the linked double crochet stitch is when you're working in the round and you attach, there's always going to be somewhat of an obvious seam. Now, this is kind of done using a technique that I found online where you can attach your linked double crochets before going on to the next round. So it is what it is, and I plan on having it kind of folded this way so that the seam falls on the crease kind of the glove, so it's really kind of not obvious. Now, some people would recommend working this in the spiral round, which would look really nice because you'd have no seam. However, the one thing I don't like about working in the spiral round for certain projects is that at some point there is going to be a jump here when you're trying to level it out again. So I've just opted to, oh, this one came undone here. So I've just opted to just slip stitch to join each of my rounds here and then just hide it in the crease there. Okay, so this is the idea of what we're going for. So let's get started on it. So I'm going to take my yarn here. Well, that's the outside. Let me see if I can find the inside here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start this with a magic ring or a magic circle. It's very similar to how you would start a slip knot. You're going to bring a loop around. And then all you're going to do is you're going to pull up a loop and then chain 1. Now, if you're super new and you want to use maybe a chain 4, you certainly can do that. I just like using the cinch circle because it really cinches in that center nice and tight. If you'd like kind of a slower, more in-depth little quick lesson on the cinch circle, I have a great tutorial lesson on that, and I'll leave a link for it in the description box down below. So what we're going to do is we are going to chain 2 more. So we have 2 and 3. So we have 3 stitches in total, and I know it might be a little tricky to see because of the twist, but hopefully it'll be okay. So this is not really going to count as anything. This is just going to give us a little bit of height. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the second chain from the hook. So there's the first one. Here's the second one. I'm going to insert my hook and I'm going to pull up a loop from there. And then I'm going to go back into the ring and I'm going to pull up a loop. Then I'm going to resolve like a double crochet as usual. So I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2. I'll have 2 left on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. So what I've done is I've created my first linked double crochet stitch, and this chain 3 is just going to kind of be there as a support for this stitch. So what happens here is we're going to have a little horizontal bar, and I'm just going to insert my hook here. Just like that so you can see it. Again, the twist may make it a little tricky to see. I actually have a tutorial also just strictly on this stitch itself. It's called the linked double crochet stitch, and it's done going back and forth. So it'll be a great tutorial on the basis of the linked double crochet. The difference here is we are going to work on this stitch in the round. So that will be the main difference. So if you just want that as a reference, I'll also leave a link to that in the description box down below. So once you have your linked double crochet established, you're going to insert your hook into that horizontal bar, and you'll always do this to pull up a loop. So normally with a double crochet, we always yarn over, but with the linked double crochet, we do not yarn over. We go through that horizontal bar to pull up a loop. And then we go again into the center of the ring and pull up your other loop. And then you resolve like a regular double crochet. You pull through 2 and then you pull through 2. Okay? And you can see there's another horizontal bar there. So let's do that again. Insert through the horizontal bar, pull up a loop, insert into the ring, pull up another loop, pull through 2, and then pull through 2. Okay? And now you can see that the bar is consistently going across. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this until we have a total of 12 stitches. And remember that for this project, I am not counting that chain 3 at the beginning. So technically we've done 3 linked double crochet stitches, and now I need to do 9 more. Okay, this is my 12th stitch. I have 12 linked single crochet stitches, and now you can see that that bar creates a little ridge effect there. So what I want to do now is I want to take that tail and I want to pull on it, and don't be afraid to pull tight. So now our center, see how it cinches in nice and shut, is nice and tight. And now what I'm going to do is I am just going to slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet and join my round. So for this first round here, it just stays nice and tight, so I don't need to do anything other than just a slip stitch at the top. So that's round number 1, and we have 12 stitches. So we're going to go on to round number 2 now, and we're going to begin the same way. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to find that second chain, and you're going to insert to pull up your first loop. And now what you're going to do is you're going to go back into that same stitch where you slip stitched, and that is where you're going to pull up the next loop. Okay, so now we have stitches to work into, and you're going to resolve like a regular double crochet. So there's a linked double crochet there. Now for round number 2, we're going to place 2 stitches into each stitch. Okay, so I'm going to insert into that horizontal bar from the top to the bottom, pull up a loop, but I'm going to go back into the same stitch I just worked out of. So remember that chain 3 doesn't count as anything. And now we have 2 linked stitches in one. And now I'm going to go into the next stitch and place 2 there, 2, 2, 2. At the end of round number 2, you are going to have 24 stitches. So again, I'm going to find that horizontal bar right there, pull up a loop, and go into the next stitch. So there's the first one. And then I just realized, guys, sorry, that candy stripe can make it a bit confusing to see where the horizontal bar is. But hopefully you see that ridge that's coming across. And then this one is right here. Then I go back into that same stitch for my second one. Okay, so this is what's going to help our circle for now continue to lie flat. So you're going to continue placing 2 into each stitch, and I'll meet up with you when you have 24 stitches. Okay, so I've come up to the end of round number 2, and I've just finished my 23rd stitch, and I'm going to do one more stitch, but this is where I'm going to show you to link it. Now I realize that now this yarn is just really kind of terrible to see. I mean, in theory, I was excited about using the colorway, but to show you guys, I know it's pretty difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this one that I've been working on, and I'm just going to show you, it's the same technique over there of how we're going to join our round. So let's pretend that this is stitch number 23 and we're going to stitch number 24. So you'd begin it as usual. You go in through that vertical bar and you pull up a loop, and then you insert into that next stitch, you pull up a loop, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go into the first horizontal bar of the row, which is right there, or the round I should say. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert my hook from the bottom going upward, and I'm going to pull that loop through. So we've got 4 loops on the hook, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to take that loop and pull it through those 2 loops right there. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2 to resolve the stitch. So what that did is it linked these 2 bars together. Now it's pulling up a bit. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to slip stitch to join, and that should relax that horizontal bar down. Okay, just like that. So now you can see that the horizontal line has a little bit of a consistency. It still pulls it up. It's not great, but it's probably one of the best ways that I've seen to link these 2 stitches together. Now, some of you might say, well, why can't I just slip stitch and be done with it? And I will show you why you might not like it. Okay, so I'm going to finish my 24th stitch as usual. So if I just insert, so finish it, right? And now I'm just going to go to the top of that first stitch and I'm going to slip stitch to join. And you're like, okay, great, no problem. The only problem is, see that big gap there? Because these stitches have all been linked so closely together, this is what tends to happen. And so that's why we try to find a way to make sure that we link these bars together before we slip stitch. So that is why you will see me doing it this way. So it's during the time when you're working your last stitch, you're going to pull up that loop, go into the next stitch as usual, and then go into the next bar, just like that. Okay, and then you pull through 1, 2, and 3, and that kind of snuggles the center of the stitch together. And then we pull through 2, and then you can slip stitch to join. Okay, just like that. Sorry guys, I know it's white on white, so it might be tricky to see, but at least now you can see that it's nice and snug together. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do here. So I am just going to, I'm going to go down into that horizontal bar. So hopefully now you can at least understand what I'm doing. So, whoops, I don't want to do that. I want to go into the first horizontal bar, which is right here. Pull through and then pull through these next two. And then pull through the final two, and then I can slip stitch to join. Just like that. Okay, and round number 2 is complete, and hopefully you can see that that ridge is following the round there. So that ridge that comes from the linked double crochet stitch, see how it just follows that round there? And you are good to go. So now what we're going to do is we have one more round of increases, and then we're just going to continue on nice and simple, one into each stitch. Now, because this is actually turning out to be quite terrible to show you guys, I'm going to continue with this one that I've started, and I'm just going to pretend we're in round 3. So the principle is the same. So this is round 3 of this. So I don't want you guys to get confused. So round number 3, you're going to start the same. You're going to chain 3, and then you're going to insert your hook into the second chain, pull up a loop, and what you're going to do is you're going to go back into that same stitch where you slip stitched, and you're going to resolve your linked double crochet stitch. Okay, so that's your first one. Then you're going to insert again, and you're going to do a second linked, but you're not going to do it in the same stitch. You're going to do it in the next stitch. And here is where you're going to place 2. Okay, so you're going to go in through the bar, pull through, go back into the same stitch, and then resolve your linked double crochet. So the pattern for round number 3 is that we're going to do 1, it's probably tricky to see, you're going to do 1 linked double crochet in one stitch, and then you're going to do 2 in the next. So you're going to be increasing your stitches in every second stitch. So now what I would do is I would do my linked double crochet. Into the next stitch, I would only do 1. Okay. And then into the following stitch, I'm going to do 2. So this follows the same principles of crocheting a circle, again, through the bar and through the same stitch. Just like that, okay? So you can see on this one, it's making it flare out, but that's only because I've stopped increasing. So that is what you're gonna do for round number 3. You're gonna place 1 and then 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around. At the end of round number 3, you should have 36 stitches. Okay, so round number 3 is complete, and I have 36 stitches. Now the rest is gonna be super easy. You're going to begin by chaining 3 again. 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to put this down to bring back the other one. I think it's going to be a little bit easier for you guys to see. So there's no more increasing happening. So you can see here I have round 1, round 2, and round 3. And then for the rest of the rounds is just 1 stitch into every single stitch. So these are all, whoops, this is when I was showing you guys the increase. So basically, you just continue on with your linked double crochet method in through the bar and to the next stitch. And you will always have 36 stitches all the way around. So you're going to repeat this. Go for a total of 12 rounds. So that includes the first 3 rounds. So we're going to do 9 more rounds with no increases. This should build up. So right now you've got a flat circle, but as you do no increases, it will curl up, and then you can kind of see where it sits. So the idea is that you kind of want it to sit just around where your index finger and your thumb meet, okay? So I'm gonna leave you with that, 1 into every stitch for 9 more rounds. Okay, so I have completed a total of 12 rounds, and I have something that looks like this. And so when I place it over my hand, you can see that it fits nicely. Now, if you happen to be doing it in the Lion brand 24/7, I actually did 13 rounds. Again, it falls a little bit thinner. And because I'm going to do a double layer, I want this to fit in here. And I kind of like the fact that the lip just comes out a wee bit like that. Yeah. So once you've done one side, what you're going to do is you're going to replicate this exact same thing a second time. Now I've actually gone ahead and done this here. So the idea is you've got one here and then one here. So these are going to be like foldable. Okay, so that way it's just like, it doesn't matter which way you kind of put it in, it's always going to fit. It's just meant to nice and easily grab. Now I am going, like I said, I'm doing double layers. So I did 2 of these, and your second one, you'll notice I haven't fastened off. When you do your second one, do not fasten off, because I'm going to show you what's going to happen next. Now, if you're doing it like me and double layering, then you're going to go ahead and do 4 of these all together. Now, in my case, it just so happens I'm doing the inside layer a different color. But for you, you might do them all the same color if you're doing the double layer like I am. And actually, this is how much of that skein I have left of that Crafter's Secret Cotton. So definitely this will do for one pot holder mitt, because I'll probably use a little bit of this. So if you want to do 2, I would definitely pick up 2 of those balls. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to create either 2, a second one here, if you're just going to leave it like this. Again, that's why I did the linked double crochet stitch, is so that it can sit closer together. But because I'm always paranoid about heat, you guys know me, I'm going to do a double layer. But if you're not, all you need to do is do 1 more of the same thing and then meet me back here. If you're going to do a layer, you're going to need to do 3 more of the exact same thing and then meet me back here. Okay, so I have finished my second one here. And what we're going to do now is, the reason why I don't want you to fasten off is we are now going to attach these 2 together. Now you should still have 36 stitches in total. If you end up having 35 coincidentally, it's not the end of the world. Okay, so as long as they just look relatively the same, we are good to go. They're the same height. So we're going to attach these 2 pieces together now. So I want to make sure that my last stitch is sitting on my right side here, because we are going to start stitching up these center 2 together. Now, if you divide 36 by 2, that's 18 stitches. Yeah. So you should have 18 stitches running across this side and 18 stitches across that side. So I'm going to take my working side, or my working loop. I'm going to place that one in front, or in behind, I should say. And then I'm going to place my other one in front there. Now, remember how I said we have a seam somewhere here? So this one is kind of, actually, this is the beauty of this kind of yarn. It kind of gets hidden, so it's not the end of the world. So, but I'm trying to keep whatever seam I have like on a crease, so it's not as noticeable. So I'm just going to make sure to have that there. And this one is here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert my hook, and you can see that's where I fastened off there. I'm going to insert my hook anywhere around here, just like that, on the inside. So this is the side I'm going to stitch up, and then I'm going to take my working loop here, and I'm going to pull that through. So that way these 2 are nicely attached. Okay, just like that. I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm going to go back into the same spot here. So you're going to be working in through the front layer and the back layer, but only the edges that touch. You're not going to touch these outer sides here. So I'm going to go back into that area there, and then back into the stitch where that loop came from. Pull up a loop. And all we're going to do here is we're going to single crochet. So we are going to single crochet across, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch, and then I'm going to go into the following stitch. So there, I've worked it in already, and then I go into the next stitch, right there, and I'm going to single crochet. just like that. So I'm going to keep doing that all the way across until I come to the other crease here. It should be 18 stitches. If you end up having 17, it's not the end of the world. But what you want to do is work these two edges together, single crochet, until you get to that other side here where you meet the crease. Okay, so I've come across these 18 stitches. And so now my two sides are attached. So this is what it looks like here. And now I can just slip my fingers in there and grab away. See how easy that is? But I'm not going to leave it like this. I do want to cover a little bit more of the hand area. So now what we're going to do is we are going to continue around the outer edge. And this is where it all becomes a little bit more seamless. And for this round, so I guess technically this is round 13, we are going to continue with single crochet stitches all the way around. So now I've just finished these two here. So now I'm just going to pick up on this outer edge here, and I'm just going to go into every single stitch that I see. And so this should be another 18 stitches on this side and then 18 stitches on that side. So just single crochets for now. And then we will pick back up with our linked double crochet stitch. Okay, so I've just come to the crease here, and I just wanted to show you guys how I'm going to come around here. So I'm just going to go into the very next stitch, and then I'm just going to hop over to the other side. The only thing, this one is stretched out a little bit, so what I want to do is I want to just kind of decrease these two together. So I'm just going to go into this area here where it's just below where it's stretched out. I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm going to go on over to the other side right there and pull up loops. So it's kind of like a little decrease, and then I'm going to pull through all three. Now that'll decrease your stitch count, but again, it's not the end of the world. You may not need to do that, but just in case you see there's like the stitch has stretched out, I like to do that. Otherwise, you just continue on and you just move on to the next side here, and this side is a little bit tight. So you just keep single crocheting as you were before, one into every single stitch. Okay, so you can see now it just creates a nice smooth rounded edge. Then you continue on to the end, and then you want to make sure, so you can see there, that's where we began. So you're going to single crochet into each of the last two there, and then slip stitch to the very first single crochet you did, and I'm going to meet up with you there. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end here. I've got this last stitch done, and now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of the very first single crochet stitch and just pull that nice and tight. And now you have something that looks a little bit more uniform. It's attached, and now you've got some nice fun working. I love that. That's very, very cool. Okay, so if you are just going to keep yours as is with no insert, and by the way, those of you that sew, you can definitely put a liner in here with that Insul-Bright material, which is also extremely heat resistant. That could be a nice option too. But if you're going to leave it as is, what I would like to do a couple more rounds, because I just like the idea of just having a little bit more coverage on the hand. I know this is just meant to kind of hold the pot. It's not really meant to stick your hand in the oven. But see how this edge is hanging out here? I kind of don't like that. So I want to create just a little bit more of a lip. So if you were not putting this liner in, you would now go on to round number 14. And so now all you would do is crochet around the outer edge. And I would begin again with chain of 3, because we're going back to our linked double crochet stitch, and you're going to go into the second chain, pull through, and back into that same stitch to begin. And at this point, you guys know the drill of the linked double crochet stitch. You always make sure you go in through that bar first and then work your way into the next stitch. Okay, and it's pretty straightforward. And then from there, I would just kind of see what works best for you, how far over the wrist area you want to go, right? So now for me, because I'm going to actually line these with a second layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this layer, and I'm going to do exactly what I did here. I'm going to attach these in the center first with a single crochet, and then I'm going to continue working around the outer edge, and then I will fasten off. So what I've done here is I will have attached them and kind of given them a nice round edge. I'll fasten off, and then I'm going to meet back up with you because I'm going to show you how I'm going to insert them into here and then continue working the rounds to create a little bit more of length. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, guys, I got a little bit of work to do. I'll meet you back here in just a moment. Okay, guys, so I finished attaching my liner here. So I did the exact same thing. So now what I want to do, because I want to work the rest of this together. So I'm just going to pull that to the beginning. And as I said before, if you're not doing a liner like I am, then you would just continue working your next few rounds. So I'm just going to take my liner and I'm going to place it inside each of the pockets here. So this pocket goes in here. Yeah, that feels a lot more secure to me. It's nice and thick, so I'm not worried about the heat seeping through. Okay, so there we go. As you can see, it sits nicely inside. And now when I work the rounds, I'm going to catch the liner for that first round, okay? Now, if you wanted to, you could now hold this and this together if you also wanted to kind of keep it nice and thick, which I might do actually. So I'm going to pick up where I left off here. I'm just going to work over that tail. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do. I have this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain one. And this might be a little tricky to see, but I'm going to go back into the same stitch here. And then I'm going to go into my liner around the outer edge here. So same spot. And I'm going to pull up a loop and I'm going to single crochet. So again, I'm using single crochets here. And actually, I should bring this one back in as well. Let me do that again. So I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the double strand method. So I'm going to go, this is very awkward to hold here. So I'm going to go in through that same spot, and I'm going to go in through the same spot in the liner. But before I pull this through, I'm going to bring back my liner. Now, if yours is the same color, then you might want to pull it from the back end. Just so it happens that I'm using two different colors, one for the liner and one for the outside. It's going to be a little awkward here. Pull that, and I'm going to pull that in through. There we go. So I've got two strands now working as one. I'm just going to move that tail out of the way. And so now these two are working together. And all I'm going to do right now is I'm actually just going to slip stitch that. Whoops. So that they're working together. Got a lot of tails hanging out here. And now I'm going to chain three. 1, 2, and 3, just like that. And so now we're going to go back to our linked double crochet stitch. I'm just going to throw these tails out of the way so they don't confuse you. I know there's a lot going on here. So as usual, I'm going to find the second chain, and I'm going to insert my hook. Pull up loop, just like I showed you before. This one's a little tricky because there's two strands here. And then now because this is nice and thick, I'm going to go into the next stitch here. And then I'm going to go into the corresponding stitch of the liner. So a very similar technique to what I did when I sewed the two sides together. And then I'm going to pull that through. And then resolve like a regular double crochet. Now, if you find it more comfortable to go up half a hook size, like this is a 5, because it's thick, you can go up to a 5.5 if that feels comfortable for you, okay? And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with my linked double crochet stitch, and I'm going to go along and I'm going to make sure that my liner gets attached to my outer layer. And you're going to do that all the way around. Okay, so now you've got an outer edge. So let me just take that out. So now you've got an outer edge to work with, and then you would just continue on. Whoops. And then you would just continue on with the outer edge. We're going to ignore the inside and all the way around. Okay, when you get to here, you're going to slip stitch to join. Then you're just going to reassess the situation here. I really like how that's coming out, and it feels really nice and sturdy and safe for heat. Okay, so I have finished my mitt. Now what I did is I did an additional 2 rounds all the way around just to give it a little bit of height. And so when I put it on, see, it just kind of comes a little bit more over the heel of the hand there, just to give me a little extra feeling of protection. And that is it. That is the half mitt pot holder. And as you can see, you can put it on any which way, and it should fit any hand size because it's not really like a fitted glove. And if I show you the inside, you can see where the lining joins seamlessly. And yeah, it's very handy, functional, will make for great housewarming gifts, part of a hostess gift if you're doing a lot of holiday parties this season. So these will come in very handy. Now, of course, I just have one at the moment. But normally when I grab things out of the oven, I'm usually grabbing like just like a little pot holder that I fold, and I usually only use one hand anyway. But I am going to make a second one because it is very handy when you need 2 hands. And you can just crochet this up in no time. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed working on the linked double crochet stitch in the round, which is kind of interesting. So if you have any further questions, just make sure to leave them for me in the comment box down below. And for those of you that check out the comments, and if you feel like you can help anybody down there, please feel free to do so. Now, I know a lot of you do like to email me directly, so feel free to do that. You can email me at info@crochetcrafty.com, and come on over and visit us on the website, crochetcrafty.com. Lots of great goodies there for you as well. And don't forget, come say hi to me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions, and make sure that you tag me in all of your creations. So that is it for our Home Sweet Home series for 2024. Can you believe it? The year just went by so quickly. So if this was your first time joining us for this series, make sure to check out the Home Sweet Home playlist. So you will see all the projects from January up until now. And might give you a little inspiration of maybe some gifts that you can make just in time for the holidays. You never know. And stay tuned, because in a few weeks, just before the end of the year, I usually do a year in review. And I go through all of the Home Sweet Home projects, as well as kind of let you in on all of my favorites, what I think are my biggest successes, and maybe a little bit of my biggest fails, which I didn't think that I had any this year, but I like to kind of break that down. And then a few days later, you are going to get a little sneak peek as to what our crochet series is going to be for 2025. So lots of fun little videos coming up as we get closer to the end of the month, which is the end of the year. So this was the last of the Home Sweet Home series. You're probably now in the holiday stretch of crocheting things. And make sure, by the way, to visit the Crochet Crafty website, because on the bonus tools page, there is a project planning checklist that you can download. It's absolutely free. And I find it's a really handy tool to help you kind of pre-plan the items you want to make and just plan out the amount of time you have to make it. So I think you'll find that really helpful. So make sure to download that. And for now, that's all I've got for you this week, but stay tuned. There's a couple more projects coming up that are holiday related. You probably saw some of these in my crochet Christmas tour, which was last week. So lots of stuff going on here on the channel. So I hope that you enjoy it all. Thank you as always for joining me every week. I so love hanging out with you guys, and I appreciate all of your support. If this is your first time and you had a nice time, I invite you to press that subscribe button. Make sure to click that notification bell and come hang out with me. I upload a brand new video every Wednesday morning, and I think you're really gonna enjoy coming and hanging out with us. So that's all for now. I want you to take good care of yourselves. Happy crocheting as always, and I'll see you guys in the next session. Bye-bye.